Hello again, my name is David Watts from Lenovo Press, and I have with me today Denny Lane. Denny is the Worldwide Product Line Director for our tower systems. How you doing, Denny?
I'm doing great, thanks for having me.
Great. And today we're going to be talking about the new ThinkSystem ST250. This is our new single socket tower system. So Denny, tell me who this system is suited for. What type of customer would be best suited for this sort of system? Okay,
well this is our step-up tower system. It's the successor for the current TS460 system. Right. It's really designed for companies that are small businesses, so SMB type customers, ones maybe that are coming from the cloud and needing their first on-prem type box.
Yep.
Another very popular use case is for remote office, branch office. So a large corporation with a data center that has lots of remote sites, and one of the key elements has a manageability capability, so it's easier to manage remotely when you have dozens or hundreds of
There's
sites.
quite a lot of enterprise grade features in this system, even though it's just a single socket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even though it's sort of the lower end of our product portfolio, it has all the reliability of the rest of the Lenovo ThinkSystem line.
Yep.
It has the same service capabilities. It has all the same attributes of a real enterprise class server, but at a kind of a value price point that's desired for the small office or the remote office.
So then what sort of applications would you run on such a system?
It's a fairly wide range of capabilities. So you can do just very basic file and print, general data on office automation. For thinking of remote sites, you might be running a variety of activities on here. You might have your physical surveillance, you may have your inventory, you might have your email, file and print type activities. So it's a very flexible and has obviously a lot of storage to it. So things like the surveillance capabilities that is increasingly popular has lots of storage on-prem or even desk side storage. So to supplement what you don't have to put everything on the cloud.
Not like a rack system. So you can put it in your office, under a desk. Noise level's pretty good, right?
Very good. Just a little bit over like 31 decibels. So that's similar to being in a very quiet library. So ideal for that. You don't need a separate data closet for this type of product. It's really designed for kind of a range of environments. A lot of restaurants use these, hospitality, so under the front desk, or even in kind of more industrial and warehouse applications.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
very flexible.
Good. So in this video, we're going to take you through all the components. We're going to start at the front, look at the back, and then we go to the middle. In the middle, yep. All right.
Way to do it.
So at the front of the system, you can see here at the bottom here, these are 2.5-inch drives. This particular configuration is 16 2.5-inch hot swap drive bays. But the server actually supports a variety of configurations, right?
Exactly. That's one of the depending on how you want to order it, and there's even upgradability capabilities. Yep. So you can have larger capacity 3.5-inch discs, or you can have a range of higher performance 2.5-inch discs.
And a mix, so you can actually have a hybrid, right?
You can have a hybrid where you have both in there.
So you'd have like 4 3.5 and then 8 2.5-inch.
Exactly.
For that performance.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent. And both hard drives and solid-state drives.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So you get the performance as well as a higher capacity and lower cost of the spinning disks.
Yeah, okay. And then at the top, 2 media bays. Optical drive we have here. You can have 2 of those if you desire, or you could put a tape drive, like the LTO tape drive, or the RDX drive would be supported in the system as well.
And you think about the use case out at a remote site, they might not have a big backup system to go to. So having that data right there that you can just burn it onto a media itself or a tape drive is still a very, very popular way of archiving data.
Right.
Very, very low cost, and it lasts a long time.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Now at the top, usual system controls: power button and power LED. We've got LEDs for the onboard SATA controller drives, onboard networking, an ID button, an LED. For systems management purposes, you can actually enable this ID light remotely. So you can use this when you have a whole series of systems in a room, for example. You can identify which particular one you want to be servicing by turning on that blue light from remotely. Or you can press the button and turn it on locally as well. Yep.
And we mentioned a couple times about manageability. So the 460, the predecessor of this, did have some basic manageability, but this first ThinkSystem tower really has all the standard Xclarity capabilities. So we'll see the Xclarity controller. I think you're about to go to the mobile port, so you can manage it. You can manage it just like you manage your large data center systems, but being able to bring that common capability down to the very remote site, that gives an IT manager the capability to make it very flexible. You can do the capability of doing remote reflashing of the firmware, and also see your what's going on with the infrastructure, control of the temperature. So it has a lot of capability both on site and for the guy.
The sort of stuff that you need to do in an enterprise environment.
Exactly, as well as if you're a single proprietor and using it in an SMB environment.
Of course.
It helps you there too.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the system LED, the last of the series of LEDs there. Now further over here, 2 USB ports, USB 2, and this is USB 3.1 Gen 1, so the 5 gig speed USB port. Now this one here, the USB 2, as you mentioned, it's the Xclarity mobile port. You can see the little symbol there indicates little wrench there, to remind you that it's for systems management as well.
Right.
So tell us more about what Xclarity Mobile and this port can do for you.
Well, this gives you the ability to actually plug in, and if you say you did have this in a rack environment, or you needed to take a crash card up to it and do some management directly to it.
Local management.
Local management. The mobile app allows you to do things on your phone or your tablet, so you don't need to be actually remote to do it. You can actually do it right there physically.
So you basically take your phone, plug it in with the cable directly into the port, and then enable that. You have the app installed on the phone, and then you actually see on the phone it's a virtual LCD display. You can see information about the system right there on your phone.
You can see the physical layout, the devices, if there's any kind of errors, what they are. And increasingly, the security is paramount to everybody. Not having, if you didn't want a remote connectivity, for the machine to phone home remotely, then you can do all that same level of management directly there.
Right.
So some
and it's
people
wired, not
that.
wireless, so that you really do need physical
wired.
tethering.
So you plug it in, and it eliminates any kind of, or minimizes concerns of security.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, those are all the components on the front. Let's spin it around to the back and have a look what we've got there. Now, it's an enterprise-grade system, so we have hot swap power supplies. This one has one 550-watt hot swap power supply, this particular system, but of course this system supports 2 for hot swap redundancy.
Exactly. So very obviously just pops right out. But it has a range of 2 different sizes of power supplies. You can go.
There's the 550, and then there's also a 250-watt fixed power supply. So if you don't need the hot swap, the redundant capabilities of 2 power supplies, and you don't have full configurations, then you could use the lower cost 250-watt fixed power
helps
supply.
You and it really depends what the workload is that you're going to use and how much hardware is going to be in there.
Okay. Now, port-wise, we've got VGA port, standard serial port. There are 3 RJ45 connections. The first one is a dedicated systems management port. So this is part of the management story. So you would connect there to a dedicated management connection to the Xclarity controller. That's the service processor built into the server. So you can perform remote systems management of that server over your network.
So you're not tying up the rest of your networking access.
Right. Yep. Now, the system also has 2 additional ports. Those are system-level gigabit Ethernet ports.
Right, 1 gig.
One of them actually can be configured to be shared with systems management. So if you don't need to have all 3 cables, you don't want to have the 3 cables, you don't have a dedicated management network, then you could just use the ports 2 and 3, still have the ability to do the remote management through that port number 2. Yep. Further down, 4 USB ports, USB 3.1. G2, these ones here, these are 10 gig USB ports, and then below that 2 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, those are 5 gig. And then below that little hole there, that's the NMI button for reset. Now below that, Denny, there are 4 PCIe slots, right?
Correct. So that's for this size machine, that's a lot of flexibility. You can do a range of cards that we'll see some of the options internally.
Yep. Okay, so that's pretty much the back there. Let's flip it on its side and open up the cover, shall we?
So as you're doing that, David, let me talk a little bit about, again, think about this in a remote site. So security is key. So before you actually pull the cover off, so you won't, a lot of people will not have a separate IT staff out there. So it's designed to be toolless. There's a single thumb screw on here, so very easy to pop the cover off and get inside. But for, if you don't want certain people to get inside, it has a lot of physical security aspects to it. So you see a connector right over here. So that's for a standard cable, physical cable.
That little slot just here?
Yeah, there's just a little, there's a range of vendors that sell locking capabilities, a standard size. So then you can literally, it's like your bike chain. You physically are locking the thing down so the machine doesn't walk away. Then you have here, some of this is kind of basic technology. So this is for a padlock. So then you can physically keep the door, the cover from opening to have people come in and
security.
take away your processors or your memory or the adapters, which are very expensive. So as you do, now you can go ahead and pop the cover, please. All right, good job. But did you hear that alarm go off?
Okay.
You didn't, but in a real-world situation, right over here you have an intrusion detection. And it's standard on some models, optional on others. So it's basically like a little trigger switch.
So it's the intrusion switch.
Intrusion, right. So it's, as the cover comes off, it would send a signal, again, back to xClarity and the system management and let you know, hey, the cover came off this system at this point in time.
And you can decide whether that was
a good thing or a bad thing.
Exactly, yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes, indeed. So another layer of security.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent.
And generally not something you're going to find on a value class product like this. So I think that the key thing to think about is, it has enterprise class capabilities, but in the reliability that Lenovo is #1 for the server reliability, but you're getting that for really a value class price.
Yeah. Okay, so now the central piece to this system, of course, is the Intel processor. This system, Intel Xeon E1200 class, or 2100 class processor.
So this is you may have heard of it as Coffee Lake.
Right, that's the former code name.
Intel code name for it. Google it.
Yep.
And what you can find is, that's a fairly substantial, heat sink on there and piping. So so this is the next generation, supporting up to 4 cores within the system. And while we're looking at this, one of the things to point out, so this is a very large fan on the heat sink, fans up here. Now you might say, wow, you said it was whisper quiet. But there are a lot of fans. So one of the things, because of the size of the fan, it's able to actually move a lot of air at a much lower sound
slower,
level.
so it's not as noisy.
Lower and slower. So, but it has great airflow, which allows it to have so many drives. But again, we're really kind of leading the industry in quiet.
Okay, so Intel Xeon processor also supports the other range of Coffee Lake processors, the Pentium and the Core i3 are options as well if you're looking for that type of processor. Now the system has 4 memory slots, 4 DIMM slots, so supporting UDIMM DIMMs.
So it can support up to 64 gigs.
Right. So for example, if you've got 16 gig DIMMs, then you can have 64 gig of memory. Yeah.
One DIMM minimum, obviously.
Yep.
But then you can upgrade it or you can get it fully configured depending on your needs.
Now, the other components you'd look at, the slots here, we mentioned those when we were looking at the back of the system. So this machine has 2 RAID adapters installed, and then those are driving the backplanes for the hot swap drives. In this particular configuration, we've got 2 8 drive bay backplanes, and we've configured it so that there is 1 adapter for each of the backplanes. You could configure it to be 1 adapter with 16 ports if you wanted. We've just chosen to use 2 with 8 lanes each.
Exactly.
The server also supports, of course, other adapter types, Ethernet, 1 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig, for example, fiber channel, for external connectivity, SAS or RAID adapters for external connectivity, and GPUs as well, right?
Exactly. So this is the predecessors weren't supporting GPUs, and historically GPUs have been for very graphic intensive things, CAD design, but you're seeing more and more as AI, as artificial intelligence starts to move everywhere, even things like we talked about video surveillance. So workloads that are becoming more common in the general purpose use are demanding GPU.
They can take advantage of the GPUs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for example, this system supports the NVIDIA P620 as an example. Yeah.
And will support range, going forward.
Right.
So it's not the highest end ones, but it's giving that basic, like for AI inference type capability you can use it for.
Yes. Now you can also see here, if we can spin around the M.2, this card just here. The server supports an M.2 card. This is effectively seen by the operating system as an additional drive, and you could, for example, use that as your boot device with your operating system, and then use the other drives for data storage. That's an option for you.
Exactly.
And there's a variety of sizes that are available too there that just fits into a slot there. Other connectors there's the USB port that's for the RDX drive. For security, the server has a standard TPM, Trusted Platform Module.
Right on the board.
Right on the board. For our China customers, there's also the a TPM plug-in module for them, and that's what this little component is there. Other components on the board are power connectors and SATA connectors and so on. Usual complement of cables and connectors on a system like this. The two fans here are fixed, but easy to remove with the power with the system powered off. The blue symbols there indicate where you can unplug them to remove them. More blue to indicate access to the optical drives and so on. So very easy system to service. All the components are very easy to access. And I think that's pretty much all we have to cover, right?
Exactly.
Yep. So this is the ST250 one-socket tower system, new from Lenovo. Now, if you're looking for more information about the server, we have a product guide. You look for the link to that document in the description for the video. And Denny, I want to say we're also in the briefing center here. This is the Executive Briefing Center here in Morrisville, North Carolina.
Exactly. So this is one of three. We have one in Stuttgart, Germany, as well as in Beijing, China. So I encourage you, if you want to come and see Lenovo technology, you can come meet the engineers that developed this.
Yes, this is the North America headquarters.
Exactly.
For Lenovo.
One of our two worldwide headquarters.
And we have engineers here in our development labs that
so
you would come and meet.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if you're a business partner, please feel free to bring your customers, or as a customer, come meet, see where the magic actually happens. Or even come to our labs. We have dedicated proof of concept labs. So if you want to come in and actually test this and test it out in a real world application, you can do that.
Yep. See all the management tools in action.
Exactly.
Excellent. Righto. So there you have it. This is the ST250. Denny, thanks very much.
All right, David, thank you for the time.
Yep. Hope you found the video useful, and we will see you later. Bye.